Hello, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe, leave us a 5-star. Huge shout out to our friends over at OG's. We're flavoring Fridays here, the official sponsor of Fridays here. OG's, not your average cannabis infused gummy. They knock it out of the park, just like this podcast. Head on over ogsbrands.com for the full lineup. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Bo Brock. Little preview show action today. The Arizona Cardinals, with their 2 wins, head to Pittsburgh. Sans several key offensive playmakers. We'll see, Bo Brock. But as folks come in the chat, we might have to suit up. Who's ready to play whiteout in Pittsburgh this Sunday?
No big deal, right? You don't need top playmakers against one of the top defenses in the league, especially in turnovers, to keep pace with the 7-4 Steelers team. Look, it's flavoring Fridays. We're not going to take down the mood right out of the gates. We'll talk maybe some good news, right? Like Trey McBride, good to go. Trey McBride saying, I'm ready to continue and just strengthen my hold and grasp on tight end 1 for the interim and going forward. The future of this Arizona Cardinals organization is Trey McBride. So it's knocking off the groin injury, right, that they were precautious about. He was out there on the stationary bike for the previous 2 practices, and then out there looking pretty spry today, Johnny Venerable, and then talked to him in the locker room. He's like, I'm ready to go. He also said this. I told him, I was like, you're coming up on a couple, franchise marks as far as receiving yards for a tight end that only Zach Ertz has approached. What do you think about that? He's like, I don't give a crap about those stats at all. I just want to go out there and make plays for my team. Love that mentality from Trey.
I put something on Twitter today. Like, first of all, there was no doubt in my mind he was going to play because he's a Warrior and he's a cornerstone piece of this franchise. And some people say, oh, he's a good player. He's not a cornerstone player. I'm sorry. If Trey McBride on this team is not one of their best cornerstone building blocks as a second-year tight end, who is, right? I know a lot of people tongue-in-cheek smart-ass would say, well, they have none. It's a terrible roster. No. He's a really good player. Cardinals need him. He is, in my opinion, the most important pass catcher, wide receiver, running back, wide tight end, or otherwise that they have for the rest of the year, because he represents the present and the future. So it doesn't really bother me. Trey McBride didn't get a bunch of work this week. Hollywood Brown, though, didn't practice all week, but is still going to play. Like, even if he plays, like, that's not a good recipe for success, is it, Bo? Like, that bothers me a little bit.
Well, it's the alternative.
Right. I have no problem with it. It's just like, I know the alternative is times are tough. And, Andre Bocelli's out there against Minka Fitzpatrick and company. That's rough too. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But very, very few franchises operate this way. It's like, he's not going to, this isn't Plexico Burress circa 2010 where he gets to take the whole week off and he goes for about $150 and 2 tutties. Like, what's the deal with Hollywood Brown? What's going on?
The guy's getting his ass kicked. Not as far as, by opponents or anything like that. But, the guy has
his ass in practice. What's going on?
No, I think just the wear and tear of the season.
Yeah.
Talk about times are tough. I saw him after the Rams game in the locker room, and the guy just looked like he got into a bar fight. Like, his cheek was puffy. He had the heel issue. He's gimping out of there, and it was not. He didn't look great. And talking to Jonathan Gannon today, who said that Hollywood actually was trending in the right direction. Nice. And then he doesn't end up on the practice field. It's encouraging, and I think if there's one person that could stand the missed time with Kyler Murray, it's probably Hollywood Brown. Still not ideal, no doubt about it. And I'm sure our guy Howard Balzer, or our Arizona Cardinals beat reporter, will tell you about the same when he joins us later on this podcast. But I think this was just a necessary week where they needed Hollywood Brown after, dealing with hamstring injuries, thumb injuries, heel injury now. He obviously something happened where he took a shot to his face. Like, Hollywood Brown just needed some R&R. He just needed some rest and relaxation just during the practice times. And I'm sure he's getting up to speed and staying as far as sharp, as far as his mental years, so he can go out there and hopefully perform on Sunday. We did. I know statistically we saw the best performance from Hollywood Brown since Kyler returned on Sunday, but we know that a lot of those were empty calories, right? A big 35-yard plus reception in the fourth quarter during garbage time, like really kind of made that game from a stinker look decent in the box score. So yeah, I think you're just looking for who's available. Michael Wilson's not. Zach Pascal just welcomed a new member to his family. Congratulations, Pascal, for having a baby boy, but he's going to be joining the team late. Will he be playing catch up? And then we know about Greg Dortch. But to your point about Trey McBride, I mean, when the Arizona Cardinals in the short sample size of Kyler Murray being back, when this offense has been successful, it's through Trey McBride. And I think they need to feed that beast come Sunday. There's one more thing that's more important than Trey McBride finding success and finding him often in this game. And I can save it for later, or I can get into it now, Johnny, because
it's James Conner getting the ball 50 plus times in this game. Real quick, before we get into James Conner, I do want to say, like, Hollywood Brown, I think the expectations, at least from my vantage point, a lot of people are very low, right? So I think this is a week for Hollywood Brown to really help himself, right? I don't know if it's going to lead to an extension or a renewed lease on being a wide receiver 1 or 2 next year, but like if there's a game where the expectations have never been lower, it's this game. You don't practice all week, thought of as a player that can separate. We're going to talk about that later in the show. The vaunted Pittsburgh defense, their back seven's fantastic. Mika Fitzpatrick is back off of injury. They're phenomenal standout safety. But listen, Hollywood Brown goes out there and guts it out and helps the Cardinals be productive, God forbid, win this game. He's going to buy himself a lot of fans locally within the team, because right now we're looking at a situation where the receivers are in a huge indictment of this offense right now. We've covered it ad nauseum. Like the receivers are holding the offense back. Michael Wilson's absence plays a part in that. And then their inability to get off press man. Hollywood Brown is the default, fair or not, number 1 receiver. He can go out there and get chunk plays, because I've seen people, Amari Cooper, etc., have success against the Steelers secondary. Hollywood Brown, does the Paul Pierce, comes out, off the wheelchair, doesn't have diarrhea, but instead, puts it to the Pittsburgh Steelers and then has a lot of success. We all know the story. He had to go to the bathroom. Then I'm going to feel better about the prospects of Hollywood Brown. It feels like this is the absolute tipping point with Hollywood Brown, because you cannot go out in this game respectfully with Zach Pascal and Rondale Moore as your top 2 receivers and expect to be competitive. You would need to run the wing T Army offense. But if Hollywood Brown goes out there, number 2, and can get, I'm not even saying like robust statistics, but playmaking, game-changing entities, first downs, a touchdown, an acrobatic catch, could really help himself. Like I think this is set up for Hollywood Brown to have a really nice day if he can accomplish it. Now that's asking more, and we're going to talk about who potentially could be covering him, Bo, here in a little bit.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to be able to get open and make plays against the 33-year-old cornerback who's going to be potentially covering Hollywood Brown. He didn't get that assignment last time he was on the field when he placed his former team.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get further and further deeper into that. But just real quick, this chart from Josh Norris of a fantasy site, a betting site. Josh Norris here placed this thing out here. How often quarterbacks sort of open wide receivers in receivers' uncharted accuracy. Kyler Murray's not throwing to it's the least as far as wide receivers go. They're getting open the least in the NFL.
Yeah.
Look at Kyler Murray all the way over here on the left. You got the X and the Y here.
Bad.
His accuracy is not bad. I mean, his accuracy is right there nearly with Tua, who's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the league. But as far as what Tua's wide receivers are doing, what Kyler Murray's wide receivers are doing, it's on opposite ends of the axis here.
Does it surprise anybody? Like, everybody who watches the game knows, like, they can't separate. There's no opportunity to go up and get a 50-50 ball with the lack of size and the explosiveness that we were promised with this receiving core, with Rondale Moore and Hollywood Brown in particular. Outside of one deep shot to Rondale Moore, it's just not there. Like, you can be undersized, be explosive, and get chunk yards. We've seen Hollywood Brown do it earlier this year. Last year, when he got off to a hot start, no one is separating right now, and it's a huge detriment. And again, like we talked about it, audio only podcast, check it out on our podcast feed. Like, it is gutting to watch CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf torch opposing secondaries and put on a show last night in Dallas, in Texas Stadium. And basically Kyler Murray could have had both of those entities. And he instead, the ex-GM said, no, we're going to get smaller. We're going to try to be a Big 12 offense, West Virginia, Oklahoma style. And it just doesn't translate to the NFL. That's a conversation for a different day. But like, I look at that and I say, yes, we are justified in our criticism of this receiving core, because not everything can be Kyler Murray's fault. If you look at that graph right there and you think Drake May is going to fix the problem while simultaneously not getting a Marvin Harrison Jr., good luck, because you're going to be picking first overall the following year.
That's a great point. It's a great point. To add more context to the struggles of this Arizona Cardinals offense, and of course, looking ahead to the final push of the regular season, is our Cardinals beat reporter at PHNX. Go PHNX.com. His latest article is about Anquan Bolden. Quan's chances of making it to Canton. Howard Balzer joins us here on the show. Howard, what's going on, my man?
Hey, doing well, guys. Doing well. Glad to be with you here on a couple days before another momentous game for the Arizona Cardinals. And one quick note on what you were just saying. If you go back to 2021 and the first 8 games of the season, even the loss to Green Bay on that Thursday night, you had DeAndre Hopkins. Was he 6'1"? Christian Kirk, not a real tall guy, but still 5'11". I mean, he's not 5'7". And then you even had AJ Green contributing because of the other guys around him. And he's up there, whatever he was, 6'4", 6'5". So that was a core that could get some things done in combination with the running game. And it's not that you guys have pointed out, I'm sure you've been talking about it over and over. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. And Hollywood Brown, 5'9". I mean, I don't have to repeat it. Greg Dortch and Rondale Moore, 5'7". This is their 3 main guys. I mean, without Michael Wilson, it's almost criminal to a degree. And that for anyone to expect Kyler Murray somehow to rise above this and make plays is just unrealistic.
Yeah, it's frustrating, Howard. You think about the mismanagement of this roster, and I admitted this to Bo off air. I probably overvalued this roster at times this year because they were competitive. And I think that's a testament to Jonathan Gannon and this coaching staff. I do have some concern here, and I hope that the Rams game wasn't a tipping point with this, that we could be in for a rough couple of weeks here, especially when you consider San Francisco, Philadelphia on the horizon, a very competent Seattle team, as we saw last night, and then who knows, New Year's Eve day at Chicago. But, is it fair to judge, in your opinion, Kyler Murray with the state of this roster? Give him 8 games with, in my opinion, a bottom tier NFL roster, and say, hey, go out and be Superman. Go out and be the old Kyler Murray, and then we'll decide after the season if we're going to keep you around. Do you think that's fair? And do you think right now with the state of this roster, that can even be accomplished?
Well, it can't be accomplished right now. No, I don't think so. And I don't believe it is fair. I mean, the only way to evaluate him, in my mind, it's not necessarily the results. It's, how it, we hear him talk about it all the time, being comfortable in the offense, getting in and out of the huddle, all those things. I mean, on top of everything, we know obviously he coming back from the injury and spending it. I think people sometimes don't understand how different it is in the off season to be rehabbing an injury instead of getting ready to play football. Mm-hmm. And that is a huge, huge difference. And for Kyler Murray, we know it took him into halfway into the season before he was ready to play a game. And it was interesting too, Bo and I were talking about this earlier. On Monday, Jonathan Gannon was asked about the connection with Hollywood Brown, it being a little bit off. He says, well, we hope to get that worked out in practice. I mean, that's where you get that done. The guy hasn't practiced now for 5 days.
Yeah.
For 5 days. And so what's realistic? I'm waiting for a day, and I've asked the coaches this. The answer you're going to get. I would love for a coach sometime to come out and say, well, you know what, man, it is difficult when you're mixing and matching and moving guys in and out, whatever position it is, especially on defense at cornerback and all those things. That's difficult in this league. All you have to do is look at the Steelers injury report today and look at the Cardinals and look at the stark difference there is. But the pat answer, I think all these coaches are trained to say this, is, well, all teams have injuries. Well, yeah, all teams have a certain degree of them, but they don't all have them to the same level. and they don't all have as many young players as the Cardinals. So go back to your original question. No, I don't think it's fair to judge Kyler based on this and the teams you're going against. I mean, heck, what's the next game after this one after the bye?
San Francisco. Yeah.
And then you get the Eagles and even the Bears when they play them on Christmas Eve. That's a pretty good defense. So it's totally unfair. And we haven't even mentioned the offensive line, which isn't going through the decimation that the team went through last year, but you still had 4 guys play left guard. You've got a guy playing center really for the first time in his career for a long period of time. You have a rookie at right tackle, as much as we think he's going to be a great player. I mean, this is what you're dealing with. And you're right, Johnny. I mean, it's a bottom tier roster. And we all knew that going in. But I think what happens sometimes is the game comes around, everybody, okay, maybe they can play well today and all that. And then when it doesn't, everyone has an emotional reaction. Oh, my God, they couldn't do this. And, why can't – and Jonathan Gannon talked about being consistent, right? Well, look around the league. Consistency is hard, but it's especially hard with the certain players you have, because it's not only about winning your one-on-ones or beating the block or doing what you're supposed to or getting into the right run fit. Well, the other team's doing the same thing. And if the other guys are better, guess what? Most of the time, especially in critical situations, third down or whatever, consistently, the other team is going to make the plays more than the Cardinals. So we shouldn't be surprised by what this season has been. And I think to a degree, what happened against the Falcons kind of raised unrealistically the expectations for Kyler Murray. Oh, look, no one expected him to do what he did. Well, they had 4 3-and-outs in that game. It wasn't all, peaches and cream. There were some struggles in that game, but they came back at the end and won, and oh boy, man, this can go, ascend from here. Well, realistically, that was probably unrealistic.
They're on the heels of probably arguably back-to-back performances that obviously you wanted more from the offense, but coming off giving up 37 points to the Los Angeles Rams as well on the defensive side of the football, you would kind of done some digging as far as this Cardinals defensive front versus just even TJ Watt. And I know that you're going to share some of that in your upcoming article on Go PHNX, but I thought it'd be pretty fascinating to our audience here on PHNX Cardinals.
Yeah, well, TJ Watt has 13.5 sacks. The Cardinals outside linebackers, I'm just looking at the same positions. Obviously, Dante Stills has some sacks and Kevin Strong has some. But the Cardinals outside linebackers, they have 16.5 sacks among all 5 of them. I'm not counting Jesse Luketa because he doesn't really play all that much in the rotation. You look at the other numbers with quarterback hits, it's pretty close between the 2 guys. Tackles for loss, actually, which is in the running game, the Cardinals outside linebackers have actually done a nice job, and those numbers are a little bit higher than TJ Watt's. But in that pass rush situation, I mean, he's right there with 5 different guys. And so we could see it, last week with the way the Rams did it on offense. Run the football, quick passes, and there was very little consistent pressure. Now, it's hard to get consistent pressure in this league because the rules favor the offensive lineman and all those things. But if you don't get some from time to time, then you're going to give up plays. And when you give up those explosive plays, that makes it tough. And I think it's interesting, too, when you talk, Jonathan Gannon was upset with the way the fourth quarter went. Well, let's go back and look at the end of the third quarter. 5 minutes to go. It's still a 2-score game, albeit 16 points. So you need 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. The offense was actually moving the ball. They were actually moving it. They got into Rams territory, and you're saying, hey, if they can score a touchdown here, heck, even if they miss the 2-point conversion, they'll still only be 9 down, and you'll have a decent amount of time left. And what happens? They complete a 12-yard pass to Greg Dortch to the 30, and what do you get? Illegally downfield. Now you have a long situation. They make up some of the yards, and on 4th and 6, and it's arguable, go for it maybe, kick a 56-yard field goal. That misses. After that, the Rams have possession at the 46-yard line. Boom, 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 boom. They go down the field, 54 yards, touchdown, and now it's a 23-point game. And so that changes everything. No way to come back from that. And then they added on another touchdown. So that's what happens a lot of times when you get into these games and the offense can't do much of anything. The one number from last week, after that first touchdown, the next 4 Cardinals possessions that were – one was a 4-and-out because they went for it on 4th down. They had 13 plays for 15 yards and took 4 minutes and 21 seconds off the clock.
Yep.
In those 4 possessions. and that's how the Rams built their lead. Defense is out in the field a lot, and it's a compromised defense anyway. I mean, look at that. We all talk how much this team needs in the offseason. I mean, we'll debate that for a lot of months. But look at that defensive line. I mean, they're try-hard guys. But last week they had one player on the defensive line, Jonathan Ledbetter, that played in week one. One guy, because of all the guys that they've lost. And he wasn't 100% healthy and had practiced on a limited basis all week with a shoulder injury. So all of these things have, in some ways, made it even worse than we expected it to be because of the attrition at some positions. We were saying, I mean, Bo and I were talking today. I said, who do you think is going to be the starting corners in this game? And it looks like it might be that Devad Wilson, who they just brought up from the practice squad last week and played a bunch of snaps with Marco Wilson now fighting to even get back on the field at all, which he didn't last week on defense. So it's unfortunate. The fortunate thing, I guess, guys, is we're not that far away from it all being over and can watch what happens in 2024. But as we all know, there's so much work to be done with this football team.
A player that could absolutely help them would be one Anquan Boldin. He has long since retired. He kind of jump-started the relevancy, I think, of the Arizona Cardinals circa 2003. He's one of my favorite Cardinals of all time, second rounder out of Florida State, offensive rookie of the year, and somebody I wholeheartedly believe, unbiased opinion, that he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Went to a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl with Baltimore, carried San Francisco, went to a Super Bowl with the Cardinals. You've got an article right now, go PHNX.com, and why do you believe that, yes, he'll get in eventually, but it could be a while for Q in the PF Hall of Fame?
I believe it because that's what the history is for the most part with wide receivers. And you have 25 semifinalists now that were announced this week, and 6 are wide receivers. Figure that out, the percentage. That's 24.4% of the semifinalists are wide receivers. And then the other interesting number, which I have in the story, is that the entire 25 guys have a total of being a semifinalist 91 times, right? Wide receivers have 32 of them. That's over 35%. And there's 3 guys that are kind of ahead of not only Anquan, but Hines Ward and, who's the
Torrey Holt?
Steve Smith Sr., who are all semifinalists. They've been semifinalists before, haven't made it to the 15 finalists. Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne, and Andre Johnson are there year after year.
Yep.
This is Torrey Holt's, believe it or not, 10th. He's halfway through his modern day eligibility. This is his 10th year of eligibility. He's been a semifinalist 10 times now and a finalist 4. Reggie Wayne has been a finalist 4 times and a semifinalist 5. And Andre Johnson, I believe, it's either 2 or 3. And so these are guys that are kind of ahead of the others in the pecking order. And then, guess what? In 2 years, guess who we're going to be considering? Larry Fitzgerald. He's eligible in 2026. And one of the interesting things when I looked at all the numbers, and it's not only about numbers, but obviously it's a large part of it with wide receivers. When you look at these 6 guys, and then you put Larry in there as so far ahead of everyone else in terms of overall numbers, because he played a lot more games and more years. But if you break it down by receptions per game, yards per game, touchdowns per game, he's not ahead of all the other guys in all those categories. It's remarkably close. And I have those numbers in the story, but he'll probably be a slam dunk first time eligible. Well, guess what happens? When that happens, any wide receiver that's still hanging around might have to wait again. And so that's what happens with wide receivers. It happened with back, a number of years ago, back in the early, 28, 29, 20, sometime in there with Chris Carter, Andre Reed, and Tim Brown. And it took each of them like 5, 6, 7 years of being a finalist before they finally got in. And so that's what makes it difficult. And we have this discussion every year. We've got to break this logjam in this room. We've got to break this logjam, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm confident it will this year for one of these receivers, which will, maybe, who knows, maybe 2, which could open the door for another one next year. And maybe they'll clear out these 3 by the time Fitzgerald comes around. But then there'll be other guys coming in. So it's just a tough position because the numbers are so high now. It's hard to separate them. And the one thing I say to people, this century started in 2001 with Lynn Swann getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. People are shocked when I tell them that he was a finalist 14 years.
Wow.
Before he got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Part of that was because for a lot of those years, his teammate, John Stallworth, was also a finalist. And so voters are, picking one or the other, and neither of them get enough votes to advance, and it makes it tough. And that happened with the three receivers guys last year. When Holt, Wayne, and Andre Johnson each advanced in the first reduction to 10. We vote from 15 to 10 before it goes to 5. So all three of them made it to the 10. And I know after the discussion about, hey, we got to get one of these guys in, voters voted for multiple guys to make sure that a few of them moved ahead. I don't know that anybody thought all three would, but they did. At first, I thought, oh, this is great. One's going to get in. None of them did. Probably, and then you think about it, some vote for Holt. Nobody probably voted for multiple guys, because there's not that many to vote for when you go into 5. So some vote for Holt, some vote for Wayne, some vote for Johnson. And guess what? None of them moved to the top 5. And that's kind of the nuances of this system that, like I said, frustrating for the guys who are being considered year after year, but it's just a kind of a strange part of the process that's, again, just the reality of it.
Tremendous insight from our Cardinals beat reporter, Howard Balzer. Make sure to check out that article right now. Go PHNX.com. And, of course, check out his upcoming game preview. It'll drop on Saturday. Go PHNX.com and follow him along on Twitter as well. Thanks, Howard.
My pleasure, guys. Take care. Have a good rest of the show.
Thank you, Howard. Big game this weekend. Bigger game right now with our friends at BetMGM. But I like these odds a little bit more than the Cardinals odds, Bo. Ahead of their battle at Pittsburgh, how about BetMGM 1500 first bet offer? Hello, sign up with that bonus code PHNX. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or check them out. I love pulling up BetMGM, by the way. On my desktop computer, I can see all the spreads, all the props, all the goodness, the holiday goodness, if you will. It's like Christmas morning going to BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least 10 bones into your BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500, not 5, not 100, but $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. If your bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your bet's wagered. So settle down, because once it's settled, you're good to go. Sign up with BetMGM. Use that bonus code PHNX. Again, 10 is going to get you up to $1,500. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy, Shane Diefenbach, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Trying to keep my hot streak going from last weekend. It was in Fuego, just a maestro on the BetMGM Sportsbook app. It was beautiful. Look forward to continuing that. Got to check out the latest edition of PHNX Bets to see where the smart money's going from our guy Damon Dog. Also, probably going to take some of that money and throw it towards some new sunglasses over at Shady Rays. I can buy multiple players. I can be the coolest guy on the planet. I could have multiple sunglasses. Do you have multiple sunglasses, Johnny?
Of course,
probably just have one pair. You probably just have one pair of glasses. You're not cool like me.
Stop asking me questions, not allowing me to answer, and then answering for me. Yes, I have multiple pairs of Shady Rays, because why wouldn't I?
Well, I'm glad that you took advantage of their great deal, maybe their Black Friday sale, or maybe just the deal that we have going on through PHNX. Go to ShadyRays.com. It's gear built to last. They've got an incredible protection and replacement plan. If you lose, you break your sunglasses, they're going to replace them. No questions asked. Shortly or long after you purchase them. Check out the full product line, ShadyRays.com. That's ShadyRays.com. Utilize that promo code PHNX, and you'll get 50% off 2 or more pairs of premium polarized shades. Shades that 250,000 people have rated 5 stars online.
You guys are 5 stars. Keep it at 5 stars in the chat. Like this video. Let's get to this, to the 200 like mark here on a Football Friday. Bo and I, we love talking shit to each other. Pat P loves talking shit to the Arizona Cardinals in subtle ways on social media. Patrick Peterson, a once all-time great draft pick, not of Steve Keim, of Rod Graves, 2011 first-round pick, multiple Pro Bowls, multiple first-team All-Pros, had a messy divorce and cannot stop talking about the Cardinals, unfortunately, since he left. And he plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers now as a member of their secondary, and is having like a quiet, fine year. He's been solid. He took to Instagram, Bo Brock, earlier today to throw some subtle shade. Do we have the post, Damon Dog, as it relates to what Pat P threw up there? There it is. I remember when y'all said, let me not go there, though. Sunday, .. hashtag P2. Pat then posted some photos of his time in Arizona and like with Rashad Johnson and, the no-fly zone. There were great memories with Patrick Peterson. But then he said that really disrespectful stuff about Kyler Murray that was factually incorrect and had to walk it back. And it was really uncomfortable last year. You can have whatever opinion you want on Patrick Peterson. Here's mine, if no one's asking for it. He's an all-time great. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He's exponentially helped this franchise. They've had not many historically great players, so let's not alienate the 1 or 2 or 5 that they've had. Does he need to stop talking about the Cardinals? Absolutely. But when you and I had a chance to talk to him on Radio Row during the Super Bowl last year, most of what at the time it made it seem like his angst with the franchise was Steve Keim, and he told us that in not so many words. Well, Keim has been fired. He was let go. He was allowed to leave. I don't know. Is this a shot at Michael Bidwell? Is this a shot at whomever? I'm confused, Patrick. Can we just let it go? You're on a potential playoff team. That's
the main thing. Yeah, that's the main thing, right? He continues to sully his, legacy here in the desert. I mean, where he played at a high level for 7 of the 8 years that he was a member of the Arizona Cardinals organization. I mean, this was a guy that was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. I'd be interested to see, where he lands. If I'm sure he'll probably end up in Canton at some point. But he was an unbelievable player, one of the top corners in the league. He was paid handsomely. His first deal after his rookie contract, 5th overall selection, electric in the punt return game. I remember his first season. It was unbelievable. Some of the best moments watching this team were when Patrick Peterson, P2, was making plays on the playing field. But after we talked to him at Radio Row at the Super Bowl, it seemed like once Keim exited this organization unceremoniously, that he was willing to kind of move forward. And then, once the opportunity came back up, petty Patrick Peterson came right back and stayed petty, right?
Yeah.
He put a bunch of pictures of him in a Cardinals uniform, and that was like the best part of his post. Put it back up there. Why not saying like, had a lot of good times in this uniform, but instead it's like, I remember when you all said, let me not go there. And it's in an edited tweet.
Who's he talking about?
Yeah. Is he talking to the fan base that appreciated him, his entire tenure here, even through a trade request? When the first time times got tough, he said, I want the first ticket out of here. And instead of being, the leader that he was portraying himself to be, that he wasn't, right? He wanted to be the next face of this franchise. But as soon as times got tough, he said, hey, agent, get me out of here. I want to trade. I don't like what's going on.
Well, here, let's be fair.
Adversity.
Let's be fair. Buda Baker did the same thing this offseason, but instead of Steve Keim botching the whole situation, he had a grown-up general manager that they were able to come to some even ground.
Right.
And he could continue his career here. So that was not fun. And supposedly Philadelphia had offered a first for the Cardinals, and Keim balked at that because he's an idiot. And it was just a complete and utter disaster. They were offering like a 1 at the trade deadline.
It was a pissing contest. It was a pissing contest. He didn't want to have to give up any ground, and it was just a power play from the Cardinals decision makers at the time to the player. And it was an absolute just pissing contest. And unfortunately, it continues to linger, even though the Cardinals have moved off of, the guy that he told us at Radio Row, that was the biggest problem. So, and it's like, if you go back to that time, like if the problems they stretch further than Kime, and they go up to ownership to Michael Bidwell.
Which
remember,
probably
Bidwell went out to lunch with Patrick Peterson to squash all that. Now, I don't know if he made him pay or not. You can make your jokes now, but I mean, I don't know. Like he made Patrick Peterson at the time the highest paid cornerback, and then when the guy hit 30, and this was post trade requests, and several social media cryptic posts, that they just parted ways. And then one person is, to kind of paraphrase or quote our GM Saul Bookman, it is just very reminiscent of a salty ex. It really is, and just can't get over it.
Well, and I think I'm guessing he probably holds some animosity. He hit free agency and did not have a lot of takers. He signed a series of 1-year contracts with the Vikings twice and now with the Steelers. Does he feel like the Cardinals blew up his market? I think his own tape did that. But listen, at the end of the day, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. He's on the All-Decade team. He's got 35 interceptions. I hate when we have to have conversations about he's a Cardinal great. He's one of the 5 best players to wear this uniform in the last 20 years. And I hate that there's a stigma between now he and the fan base where they don't like each other. Again, you want to have issues with ownership, who's never won a Super Bowl, have at it, right? But I'm about what did the player do for the franchise when they were on the field? And for 95% of the time, he was fucking elite. He helped this franchise. This franchise right now, they're missing Patrick Peterson-esque type of players. They are starved, maybe the worst than they've been in 30 years for elite upper tier talent. Mm-hmm. And that's what he represented. He represented greatness for a long time. And I wish that we could get past this point. And I posted this on Twitter and people disagree. Everybody have their own opinion. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. That we could just get to a point where it's just let's appreciate what he did. He's very much still immature in his feels in his early 30s, which is unfortunate. You would think by now it's come on, man, you've moved on. You're on your 3rd team. It's over. Right. The Cardinals made you the highest paid cornerback, as you mentioned, in the NFL. You were a top 5 draft pick. You were given all of the accolades, all of the success, all the glory. I love the story Britton Golden told me last weekend when we were at Gila River Resorts and Casinos watching the game and talking about Pat P. He said BA would have practice 20 different plays in a package for Patrick Peterson offensively. Not only was he their number 1 defensive player, he got reps offensively. We forget about that, but they were using him at wideout. He would throw the ball. He was a spectacle. He made people want to come out to State Farm Stadium. We don't have enough of those guys right now. So it does pain me to see Cardinal on Cardinal crime, because he is a Cardinal. He's not a fucking Viking. He's not a Steeler, a 100-year-old cornerback. He's an Arizona Cardinal. If he gets into the Hall of Fame, he will be an Arizona Cardinal. And there are not enough representation of this franchise, St. Louis, Chicago, Arizona, or otherwise, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I hate that this is the thing, but I also think it was manipulated by executives and ownership too. It takes
Sounds
2
familiar.
to tango. I'm going to tell you right now, if somebody I wish the Cardinals were able to, because of who's the player we just talked about with Howard Balzer, Anquan Bolden, who unceremoniously left this franchise on bad terms. That's a problem with this franchise, that they don't know how to treat stars, even aging stars, on their way out. It's why I think Monty Ossenfort at the end of the day was Zach Ertz. The game check notwithstanding, that looked really classy, and they took care of Zach Ertz. He's going to go sign with a contender. That's how you do it. So hopefully this is an example, a continued example of whether it's Anquan Bolden or Patrick Peterson or whomever, Carlos Dansby or Darnell Dockett, you got to take care of these guys, right? Sure. So that when they go to the other franchises, that they're not talking shit about this franchise and people want to come play here.
But what did Zach Ertz do in his situation that is so fresh, right?
Very,
what did
very
he do?
Respectful.
He was very respectful. He said, "Hey, I'd like to go move on, play for a contender. Right. I request my release." And they said, "Okay, we'll release you if you agree to do this." And there was a back and forth. You remember with Patrick Peterson, he was like, "You need to pay me what I think I need to be paid. Don't keep in mind, what's the best business move for your organization, right. A 30-year-old cornerback. You're not going to get a multi-year deal with a ton of guaranteed dollars on top of that." Him and Tyrann Mathieu, they think that respect is a one-way street. And it's a two-way street. And, there was no mutual, parties working together here. There were two separate parties that weren't working together, and that's unfortunate. And I'll tell you this, as far as Sunday goes, because Patrick Peterson, and I'll continue to give him his flowers before I maybe shade him a little bit. I think that he was one of 4 cornerbacks that at the time, in his peak, in his prime, were in the discussion for top corners, right? It was Darrelle Revis, it was Richard Sherman, who many people say was a system corner, and then Joe Hayden for a very short time. And then there was Patrick Peterson. And to your point about how they utilized him, even beyond the defensive side of the football, they had gadget plays in there. He had the flash. He had the pizzazz. Like, he was one of the more flashier corners, like dating back, like the NFL hadn't seen that since
prime.
Prime.
That's who he emulated.
Yes,
his
exactly.
Like
those other guys played well. They were defenders. They shut down their guys. But P2 had the flash, and like Cardinals haven't had a lot of that at all. Like, they had the lunch pail guy in Aeneas. Aeneas was great. He's a Hall of Famer, but he didn't play like with the flash that P2 did.
They don't have Tyrann Mathieu if it's not for Patrick Peterson.
Right.
Unequivocally, you cannot. They don't draft Tyrann Mathieu, who, as folks pointed out in the chat, had a bad breakup with the Cardinals as well. Like, no one's without fault here. And I hate that this is a thing where we have to pit the fans, because the Cardinals are guilty of this. Their behavior behind the scenes allows the players to get emotional, and then you pit the fans against the players trying to back the franchise and the team, which we all love this franchise. We want it to do well, but that's a really shitty thing to do. It's like, yeah, our fans are going to get after Patrick Peterson now because he demanded a trade. That's going to make us look good, right? Tyrann Mathieu, they cut him. It's just like, no. If the Cardinals were a more button-up franchise, for the most part, you'd have an anomaly once every 10 to 15 years. It wouldn't be a routine thing. And it's a routine thing with star players. Look how they treated Kyler Murray in the contract situation. Do the Pittsburgh Steelers do that? The team that they're playing on Sunday? No, Mike Tomlin would never allow that to happen.
Right.
Do the Packers do that? Once upon a time, would the Patriots do that? Like, the Cardinals have trouble outside of Larry Fitzgerald dealing with star players. They don't know how to handle them. They don't know how to magnify them. Sometimes they feel bigger than the franchise itself. Kyler Murray certainly felt like that. He's the biggest player that the franchise had when he got here.
Right. They did not. But now I feel like that is changing.
Agreed.
Gannon and Monty Ossenfort. And there's already examples of that from Buda Baker, his trade requests earlier in the offseason. Yep. It probably helps that Buda and the head coach and the GM all have the same representation. That probably plays into it. But at the same time, like with Zach Ertz and some of the other people that have made their way and exited Arizona, it's on better terms than previous. And here's what I hope, and I'm already seeing a little bit in the chat. Like, get a guy like, I don't think it's going to come via like Greg Dortch mossing Patrick Peterson, but get this man in space with Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson can't tackle anybody. He's actually missing tackles at a career high rate, which you would have thought is impossible. He's missing 20% of his tackles this season. Put Greg Dortch, Rondell Moore, James Conner, put them in open field with P2 as the only person standing between them and a big explosive play, and you're going to love it. I mean, that's what I want to see on Sunday.
I mean, he's 32 years old. Is this 33. It for him? 33. His PFF grade this year is 60, which is probably a little higher than I thought. He's got 1 interception.
He had a great year last year. I can't deny that. I think he had a resurgence, but then it's like AJ Green, right? AJ Green had a little bit of a resurgence, and then Father Time was like, "Oh, that guy's washed. He's back. You're washed again. Like, you're 33. It's time that you don't come back and consistently produce like he did." And he was in a good position last year, I think, with that defense in Minnesota.
Yeah, well said, Bo Brock. The Cardinals are well better equipped now to handle big personality star players because they have grown-ups running their franchise in the football department. Brian, $2 super chat, friend of the program. Pat Pete can't tackle his problems or his running backs. He creates his own problems. Like all the stuff he manufactures with his cousin, who was a huge bust for the Cardinals, and Brian McFadden, one of the worst cornerbacks they've ever had. The stark opposite in Pat Pete. they get on their podcast and they create narratives and they try to stay relevant. And I appreciate the hustle, but Pat Pete's still getting those game checks. I don't know why he's messing with that, at least right now. Austin Mayer, $4.99 super chat. Are there any jerseys I can even buy as a gift this Christmas? This is a great question. Or is it too early to risk it with this squad? Should I wait till next year? My son went to a game, the Atlanta game. He's like, I'm going to get a Hollywood Brown jersey. And I'm like, maybe wait on that. He's like, no, I want a Hollywood Brown jersey. I'm like, all right, do your thing. And he's repping his Hollywood Brown jersey. I'm just like, is that going to be an irrelevant jersey here in the Valley in the next 3 to 6 months? I hope not, for the sake of him. But one jersey, 85, is a safe jersey. 85 feels like stalwart in this offense. Will he make a bunch of all-pros in Trey McBride? I don't know. But he's a focal point in an offense that wants to use a tight end. Like, he's going to have over 700 yards this year. 900 yards, 1,000 yards next year, assuming Kyler Murray's his quarterback. I think 85 is safe for you, Austin.
Yeah, in Buddha, and I don't know if you want to rep a big old offensive line number, but Paris Johnson Jr., the big old 7-0. I mean, those are about it. It really,
34, Jalen Thompson will be on this team next year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Jalen Thompson playing a very high level. I mean, Garrett Williams would probably be a decent one. I mean, the number 2 jersey, very likely Johnny could have saved a lot of money if he waited. You could find it at TJ Maxx for $19.99 next year.
Don't do that. Oh, come on. Those jerseys, especially at the stadium, the markup is it's incredible. I'll tell you what else is incredible. The prices with our friends at Game Time. Hello, $20 off your first purchase. First of all, your ticket might damn well be $20 for the Arizona Cardinals' next home game. You want to go with our friends at Game Time. $20 off first purchase with the promo code PHNX. We got Cards, Niners, we got Suns games in full effect. Those are a little pricier. So dabble with Game Time because they're going to save you the most. And on top of football, basketball, maybe some spring training action, how about some concerts? You want to go? How about college hoops? Whatever you want to do it with Game Time. It's the first place, I'm sorry, that you want to look for last-minute ticket deals. It is the fastest-growing ticket app in the country. I don't buy my tickets anywhere else. Full transparency. Parking passes, Game Time, events, concerts, whatever I do it for my family, my kids, my parents, my in-laws. Everybody's got Game Time. The egregious fees, they're not going to be there. The convenience, they mix and match. It's like they have flash deals that they go in really quick, so you can grab those, run with those. But what you got to do is you got to download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code PHNX. You're going to get $20 off right away. No questions asked. Terms and conditions apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed, Bo.
It was a very sobering moment for a lot of us who woke up and realized that the calendar, well, it switched to December. You have 24 shopping days until Christmas, friends. If you are procrastinating like myself, I'm going to get you a $1 scratcher from the Arizona Lottery. That's actually what everybody on my gift buying list is going to get. I'm going to Arizona Lottery because you think, hey, what are you doing? I mean, you're not breaking the bank, obviously, and being a little frugal with your gifts. No, I'm giving the perfect gift for everyone on my holiday list this season. I'm buying a stack of scratchers to hand out to all of the people I love and my friends and my family. Holiday scratchers from Arizona Lottery make last-minute shopping easy and then the perfect gift. There's a scratcher for everyone on your list. Scratchers for just $1. Top prizes up to $500,000. You got to play to win, of course. Go out, buy your holiday scratchers today. The perfect stocking stuffers, white elephant gift, whatever it may be. And if you got them at a holiday party, people are going to have a blasty blast filling these out. Look, Damon Dog just gave me my own scratcher here. I'm going to take some
live
time
on air.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I've actually got a quarter here.
Okay.
Instead of some like piece of a machine that fell off. So this is actually way more efficient. I'm just burning through this scratcher, and you will too. That's the thing about this. Like you go spend like $10 on a couple scratchers, and you got your evening, your afternoon figured out. You're just churning through these things. Hopefully, like Kyler Murray just dealing on Sunday, dropping dimes and dots all over the field. I don't know what the rules of this one are. Hopefully, I'm a big fat winner. If I am, I'm going to share it with the entire crew.
We just need to see that present. If there's a present, and a dollar amount, it's a winner.
Yeah, I don't. Doesn't look like I got anything. Looks like I got shut out again. Yep, it's not good, folks. But I felt alive the entire time, and you can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on that.
There's more winners for everybody else.
Yeah. That means
I don't know what I like doing more, watching you do that on air or
watching. You know what I appreciate now? I've done this 3 times, and you just go completely silent. So I'm carrying the load as far as describing what's going on.
It's so riveting. It's like watching Drew Petzing call plays, 45 dropbacks against the LA Rams last week, and that's what I would equate to what I just watched with that. But hopefully hopefully your next one's better.
Yeah.
Just like hopefully this Sunday's better for the Arizona Cardinals. Because again, we can't bat zero. We're at some point we're gonna get on base here, and this franchise is gonna get back on track. It's game prediction time, Bo Brock. And again, times are tough. You and Britton, and I even think Damon Dog were on the Arizona Cardinals last weekend to beat the LA Rams. Does anybody have the goal, the stomach, to say the Cardinals are going to go into Pittsburgh this weekend and get a dub? I will defer to my scratch-off king co-host, Mr. Bo Brock. What do you like on Sunday for this franchise that has no players at receiver? What do you got for me?
Yeah, they're down tremendous at the playmaker spot, right? It's good. It's good news that Trey McBride said he's good to go, and it's not great that Hollywood Brown doesn't practice all week. As Howard Balzer mentioned, he's missed 5 consecutive practices. He's not in rhythm with his quarterback. So to expect, him to be good to go come Sunday, and them just kind of get that rapport back, it's a bit naive, I believe, to think that. But the idea that the Cardinals can't get back on track offensively just solely based on Hollywood Brown struggling and slumping and not 100% physically, I think that's also ridiculous, because I think that there is one path to success for the Arizona Cardinals, and it's going to be on the ground, right? And I'm not going to get to my predictions. This is going to be me pleading to Drew Petzing as this really, like, I'm as casual as it comes as far as knowing the X's and O's and the schematics. And for me to tell Drew Petzing what to do as an offensive play caller, it's ridiculous, right? But run the football. Like there's no other time during this season that it's setting up for the Arizona Cardinals to just go and establish the run. Just run it. All the elements are there, Johnny. James Conner, his homecoming. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I mean, it seems that when you think of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you think of running the football. You don't think of the forward pass, inclement weather, stout pass rush, TJ Watt, get under center, hand the football off. It's the home of the terrible towel. It's the home of Renegade. It's where you run the football. Don't fuck around any longer. Run it. And James Conner returning to where it all started, Western PA, went to Pitt, started Pitt, dominated for the Panthers, beat Cancer's ass. He's having that homecoming. He's obviously not had a heavy workload recently. How many carries did he have last week?
Like 6.
Yeah. He's going to be fresh. Run it. It's the home of Jerome Bettis, the bus. Run the football. Don't disrespect the bus. Go in there and establish the run. Don't throw it 45 times. No. Run the football. Get Patrick Peterson out in space. Run him over. Do your best bus impression right there. Cards receivers can't get open. We proved that earlier. Run the football. That's all I'm asking. Is that too much to ask?
Oh, no. Breaking news. It's not the bus. It's Drew Petzing in his Prius. Let's get to my prediction here. The Arizona Cardinals at Pittsburgh. I like your take. In all seriousness, I think the Cardinals are going to be competitive. If they're going to remain in this game, 1 possession, 2 possessions, got to be behind James Conner ball. I do think that they fall in this one 24-10. However, I will play devil's advocate for a second. This team right now has nothing to lose. So we could see, I think, more fake punts, trick plays. I also think that you can't get away from the run game, even if you're down multiple scores, because I think it's bigger than just this game alone, Bo. We talked about it ad nauseum this week. You can't expose Kyler Murray to hero ball with undersized receivers that can't separate. If it's 17-0, I think you have to stay consistent with a ground attack. Plus, you've got an opportunity with baby hands Kenny Pickett to take the football away. This is the same unit for the most part that intercepted CJ Stroud 3 times, twice in the red zone, twice in the second half, shut out Houston 2 weeks ago. Let's say the defense plays an average to above average game. That's going to keep you in this game, is it not? So I think you cannot allow Pittsburgh to have a short field. And the best way to do that is to run the football and punt the football. Like this is a game where I don't care if this team punts 10 times, but here's what I don't want to see: Kyler Murray on the ground. I don't want to see Kyler Murray being susceptible to pressure. I don't want to see turnovers, interceptions, fumbled football. If it's ugly and you run the ball twice and you have an incomplete pass, punt the football. I'm with you. Like I think they can remain competitive and keep it close with the run game and with their defense. Like you can, Kyler Murray's not on this prediction list this week because I think you can remain competitive without Kyler Murray being a superstar this week. This team was losing to Joe Burrow's backup last week at times. Like the Steelers are built to win games ugly. They have like a negative point differential on the year. They've been outgained in every game this year offensively. Like let's see it. Garrett Williams, 21. I did this kind of honoring Patrick Peterson. There's a new number 21 in town rocking the red and white. He's been a really good rookie. Third rounder out of Syracuse. Let's see what he does. He's got to get physical with George Pickens and company, especially with the Cardinals missing a couple corners. And then how about this for an X factor? Michael Carter looked pretty good in space last week. Let's run a two-back system this week. Let's have Michael Carter and James Conner combine for 40 carries and let the chips fall where they may. And you want to let Kyler Murray do some RPOs. I don't want Kyler Murray to have more than 25 attempts in this game. I think if that happens, it's a fireable offense for Drew Petzing, for better or worse. Michael Carter is a viable, capable RB2 in the NFL.
Yeah.
He looked good last week. If you lose this game, but you're running the football and you're playing ground and pound, field possession control, whatever you want to call it, I'm okay with that. I'm never going to be okay with losses, but this game is big. If you get Kyler Murray hurt in this game, I will never forgive this franchise because the field conditions are going to be terrible. This is the number one defense in the NFL. The Cardinals are incredibly limited, as we've seen at wide receiver. Be smart. Can we be smart, please?
I love it. I love your predictions. You've got Garrett Williams sandwiched in there between two running backs there. So you're obviously, like me, calling for them to run the football. And
yeah,
Michael Carter looks pretty amazing in the all black. Let's say that again. Let's see Johnny's graphic real quick. I mean, does he have like a limousine tent visor? That thing is dark. Look at that thing.
Screens, end
that
around.
Looks badass. That's just cool.
Did anybody see the end around that they ran with CeeDee Lamb to ice the game for the Dallas Cowboys last night? Do that with Michael Carter.
People
line him up a receiver.
If you do that with Hollywood Brown or Rondell Moore, though, people are going to light your ass up.
Well, we know why. Because it's a negative 5-yard play.
I like your predictions. I don't like, the final score. I mean, hopefully it's closer than that indicates.
I hope so too.
I've got a little closer actual score in my prediction. Let's take a look at mine. Johnny, he was being gracious. He said I could go first, and then he didn't let me go first.
But then you were yelling at me and using the F word, so now you're continuing on.
I get the Cardinals a little closer. They lose by 2 on the road in a just all-out throw-down brawl, 17-15, ugly game. But I think if the Cardinals are going to win, if they can establish a run, you can set up Kyler Murray for success. And Kyler Murray, with the threat of James Conner being back there running the football, I think that it's going to help with these receivers' lack of ability to get open. And Kyler Murray is accurate enough to hit them with plenty of space. If you can face maybe some stack boxes because the Arizona Cardinals are running the football so much early on, that's just going to benefit Kyler Murray, who's trying to, get his bearings, continue to get his bearings in this offense. As far as defense, this was tough for me to try to figure out, who the defensive star was going to be. But it's going to take, your edge rushers to have a bounce back game. And I was thinking, who's going to do it? I haven't heard much from Zaven Collins. Haven't heard much outside of BJ Ojulari. Definitely haven't heard much from this guy, Dennis Gardeck. I think what he can do as far as in the pass rush game and in the run game, I think that he can help slow down Najee Harris and what they're trying to do under new interim OC, Eddie Faulkner. I'd like Dennis Gardeck to kind of have his name called a couple times for the first time in a couple weeks. And then my X factor is my guy, Greg Dortch. I just think Greg Dortch is going to get the opportunities on the offense side of the ball. And then, of course, like in a slugfest like this, a special teams can swing it. And Greg Dortch has the ability to do that.
I'll make a prediction right now that I feel very confident in. Kyler Murray leads this team to victory on Sunday. he will unequivocally be their quarterback of the future in 2024. I'm willing to go out on the limb and say that. Now, he very well could be anyway. Kyler Murray goes into Pittsburgh and beats the Steelers, orchestrates a good offensive day, limited, pass catchers, undermanned roster. He puts together an efficient day and he beats the Steelers on the road. That's it. He's your quarterback.
Are we discounting Mike Tomlin? Like, I felt like, at least in my case, I discounted the head coaching clash last week. And Sean,
he's a tremendous coach as an underdog, and they're a pretty robust favorite this week. I think this is a game that I don't want to say that they could look over, but I mean, like, people look over the Cardinals all year. I feel like the Niners did.
It would be uncharacteristic of a Mike Tomlin coach Steelers team in December, because the calendar's flipped today, to lose a game to a 2-10 squad.
I think your trump card, your ace in the hole, is you have a superior quarterback and they have Kenny Pickett. I mean, if you win this game, it's going to be because Kenny Pickett doesn't make enough plays and Kyler Murray makes more plays than Kenny Pickett. There's no scenario in which, like, if Kyler Murray plays poorly, the Cardinals can't win this game. Whereas if Kenny Pickett plays poorly, the Steelers can still win. That's the difference in the teams. I don't think I think a lot of people feel like the Steelers team is grossly overrated anyway.
They're fraudulent, but at the same time, like, they have enough on the defensive side of the football, and I think they have enough offensive weapon. If you can get Kenny Pickett to unravel, if you can just game wreck what he's trying to do from the quarterback position, we've seen that a bad quarterback play, regardless of the status of your roster, can lose you a football game.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. Cardinals play in a division with 3 elite head coaches. So, like, the head coach thing, they should have beat Seattle in Seattle. They lost 20-10 because they couldn't score points. Like, they have made plenty of offenses, I think, look bad. It's really, it comes down to, can the Cardinals limit their turnovers? Can they play field position? Can they get a couple big plays off Kenny Pickett? Can Matt Prater make a couple key field goals? And can James Conner and Trey McBride break a couple? Like, that's your recipe for success this weekend. But again, you can't, if it's not going well, you cannot panic and say, well, we got to go shotgun and throw the ball all over the place. Because number one, this environment doesn't support that anyway. And number two is, when has that worked for you already, Drew Petzing? It doesn't work. You have to go away, as you've mentioned all week, Bo, from what's not working. And we got a full-fledged blueprint of that last weekend. Do the opposite of that, because the Steelers front seven is way better than the Rams front seven, and they ate you alive last week.
There's a ton of confidence from Jonathan Gannon for Drew Petzing, but I think it wavered a bit. Maybe not his confidence, but Jonathan Gannon, just like everybody else, saw what happened last week. They saw the opening drive and then how different it was than the rest of the game. And in the post-game presser, he said, got to find a rhythm. We got to find some balance offensively. Can't be having all those 3-and-outs. And I think Drew Petzing, I wouldn't say he was flying under the radar before, but he has Jonathan Gannon's attention. And if it happens again, where it's as uneven as it was as far as pass to rush, even if they're down, like, I think that Nick Rawlis has shown that his group can get the stops. And sometimes it's not as consistent as you want, but they'll get some stops. And if you just kind of crap it away by going 3-and-out and continuing to put his defense back on the field, like, Jonathan Gannon is not going to be happy, and he's going to, Drew Petzing is not going to be, this untouchable guy as far as, his ability to just game plan how he wants to game plan. He's going to get probably some helpful hints from his head coach if he does it again.
Yeah, I mean, you could be grading on a curve based on talent level, but very few people would argue the Cardinal defense has outperformed the offense this year, given the expectations, the talent level. They just have. And again, it just shows you the offense is so predicated on quality quarterback play. Topic 64, back-to-back super chats, $1.99 predictions. I mean, I would love to sit here and say Topic 64, they're going to get a dub. I've had my heart broken a couple straight weeks. I would just say, let's keep it interesting in the second half. I'd love to be sitting with everybody at BetMGM, the watch party of the year this Sunday, and have it be a one-possession game with the ball in K1's hand. Topic 64, another super chat, $1.99. Bo, didn't the Cardinals get a 6'4" receiver from Minnesota?
Yeah, they got DeN Chenzia He's more of a special teamer. I just don't know, where he stands as far as getting up to speed in this offense. Obviously, he has some. I think he spent some time with Petzing during his Viking days. I mean, he dates back to 2020 and 2021 there. So, there's maybe some familiarity there, but it's also, this is a guy that is in his NFL career hasn't played really any offensive snaps. I think he's played 11 true offensive snaps in a game. So he might have the size that they lack in that position, but it doesn't mean he's a better option. So, I don't think that's going to be a play this week.
A better option compared to what you might be used to is our stuff, our goodness, our writers at GoPHNX.com. Howard Balzer, again, plug in his article earlier today. Anquan Bolden could be a long wait for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You would hate to see that. We would love to see all of you become a diehard every single year. You're a diehard with us. Free hat and or shirt for free. It's not a one-off. It's every year. You re-up your diehard membership, which, by the way, gets you exclusive access to the member Discord, chat it up with myself, Bo Brock, become a part of our Discord Fantasy Football League that's in full effect right now. I've reached my way back to 500. Respectability, I would say. And then also get 20% off the merchandise locker. I think you get free shipping. I know you get 100% of the articles at GoPHNX.com for free. Diehard memberships, the hottest Christmas item here, this side of the valley. You love to see it, Bo Brock.
We'll get to Mike's question about Michael Wilson here in a second, but I want to tell our friends about our friends at Hero Bread. So many friends on friends. But Hero Bread, it's got everything that you're looking for, from sliced breads to buns to tortillas, available at hero.co and also Amazon.com. It's as simple as just perusing Amazon, picking out the tortilla, the bread that you want. That's going to be a better option than I'm sure you already have in your kitchen right now. Taste, it's tough to beat what Hero produces as far as taste. And then, of course, you take into consideration fewer calories than the leading national bread. And it's got 5 to 10 grams of protein. No more empty calories. You're now getting some protein packed into your sandwich or your taco or your wrap, whatever you're using the tortilla for. Check out what's going on at hero.co. Save 10% today with the code PHNX. Hero Bread, hero.co.
Again, quick plug for BetMGM this weekend, but as Didi in the chat says, Michael Wilson injury is a red flag. I think anytime a player that was hurt at the collegiate level that missed his time in his rookie year, I thought we were going to get through the first full year without him being hurt. This is his 4th game missed. Do you think he's back after the bye, Bo Brock?
Yeah, I do. I'm sure they're just being extra cautious going into this weekend with the bye after this. Mike saying and asking the same thing. What are our thoughts on Wilson already being injury reports? Hated the pick because of the injury history. Loved him when he's on the field. You just can't count on him. Sure. I mean, it continues to show that trend, but it is different injuries, right? Like his shoulder injury, like he had break last year. I believe it was a collarbone, and I think he had an ankle injury, but nothing to do with like his soft tissue or his ligaments or anything like that. So that continues to be kind of the silver lining for Michael Wilson, but still, like, if you're in the training room and you're not on the field, that's a problem.
And I think, listen, they've been extra precautious with injuries to key players that are going to be part of their future. They took immense caution with bringing back Garrett Williams. Like these rookies and Kyler Murray, like they don't mess with. And so if this is a playoff game, maybe he plays. I think you have to have renewed expectations, but it also kind of underscores our point for this entire week. Like the receiving room needs a facelift this offseason. He's going to be a part of that, whether it's wide receiver 2 or 3 or whatever it is. He's got a role to play. And I think, listen, he's got an opportunity to get his body right in the offseason, go through the strength and conditioning program with the Cardinals, go through an entire NFL offseason. He will be better. And I think he's got a chance to really have a nice finish to the season with 4 games left against premium competition. But you're right. You hate to see him miss games, especially in games like this week and last week that they could potentially win if he plays. Mike Kafka back again, $5. Thank you so much. Monty told Dobbs if he tanks against the Bears, he would sign Dobbs as a backup to Murray. Wink, wink. The Dobb father, how many more wins does he have left in his bag of tricks with the Vikings this year, Bo?
I mean, he threw 4 picks, and I saw somebody put out the stat. It's the first time he's thrown 4 picks collegiately or at the NFL level, but he's Like, it's not exactly, he doesn't take care of the football. He fumbles the ball all the time. Times are tough for the Vikings going forward. I think like his Linsanity moment is probably over. The fact that even after the first time he struggles, O'Connell's like, we'll see what happens what we'll do at the quarterback position going forward. He's already looking for alternatives to Joshua Dobbs. So it's going to have to improve quickly. I mean, he's shown the ability to turn the page, but you know what you're going to get with Joshua Dobbs. And I think Vikings fans now realize that.
Nobody better look for an alternative to this podcast, because this is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like this video, the entire gang is back together this weekend. BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. Myself, Bo Brock, Damon Dog, Britton Golden, and more. We're going to have a banner time. It's an early game. Bring your jammy jams, as I would say. Have some fun. Great food, beverages. If you're 21 and up, dabble with a little gambling action. Hard copy. You love to see that. Cardinals don't play at State Farm Stadium. We're going to be playing around, hopefully having a great time getting a dub. But in the meantime, like and subscribe, Bo. Leave us a 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate it.
No doubt about it. Everybody have a good Friday and Saturday. We'll talk to you on Sunday morning.
We all silly like the mayor.